So this is Paul and Andy's podcast, and here we are again around your table. We call it Grey Matters because both of us are greying a little, although I'm losing mine. You're
are you?
not. Yeah.
No, you're not.
I've got a monk's crown. Well, you never look down on me from behind, do you?
Ah, right, okay.
At least that's not what I'm admitting to.
Right,
anyway.
it's a decent comb over.
Oh, do you remember Robert Robinson?
Yes.
Are you that old?
Yes, I am. I used to love Ask the
and
Family.
The next word is abstiplutions. Abstiplutions. And the spitting image puppet used to have of him. He had his comb overs on a hinge.
That's
and it was on a little wire. He's going to push up like that.
This question is for mother and youngest child.
That's good.
Do you remember
That's
that?
better than mine.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember this. What was the show?
Ask the Family. Yeah.
No, it's called My Bluff. And the word is bumptious. Bumptious.
Yes.
What do you think, Frank?
Yeah.
Well, can you do Frank Muir?
Frank Muir.
Frank Muir. Yes, well done. God, it brings it all back. Anyway, that's the end of this week's podcast, folks. We've just been deciding whether we actually ever broadcast any of these, how we broadcast them, what we do. But having a clutch of 5 podcasts that we've recorded, we think we might stick them up on the interweb and see what happens. And just we'll get somebody under 20 to explain it all to us.
Yes.
And hashtag it or whatever it means. And hopefully other people, even if it's just one other person listens to
absolutely.
it. Especially the last one we did,
right.
which was more serious, I think, and could actually benefit. Whereas this is probably going to be 2 old gits ranting on a bit. What are we going to talk about?
I've no idea.
What do you want to talk about?
What have you been doing? Easter's come and gone for another year. It was ridiculously early this year.
Right.
Everybody's been moaning about that. It's British summertime, although you wouldn't know it.
I haven't been moaning about Easter around our way. They've just been moaning interminably about the weather.
Yeah.
And there's just no point, because the weather is what it is.
It is what it is, and it will change the next day or two, won't it? It's never around for very long, no matter what it is. So whether it's
I agree with you.
glorious sunshine or torrential rain, it's not going to be around for very long. So don't get down about the weather. But having said that, it has been probably the wettest winter I can remember for a very, very long time.
You can be sanguine about it, and you can say, it's a good word, sanguine.
It is.
You can be sanguine about these things and say, yes, it's just weather, and there's no such thing as the wrong weather, just the wrong clothing.
Yeah,
you
that's
can
right.
say that, which is very clever indeed, isn't it? But if you've got to take the blimmin' dogs out and the peeing rain again, and it's dark again, and there's water in your wellies, and it is irritating.
Yes, I'm sure it is. Another reason why I don't have a dog.
What's the other reason?
Well, there are many. I'm just not a dog lover. I was attacked by a dog when I used to deliver papers when I was about 12. Attacked by several dogs over that period, but and so I've always been a bit hesitant around dogs, a bit sort of frightened of, well, not frightened, but a bit sort of wary of them.
Maybe they pick up on your fear and think, I'll have a go.
No, and I just think, I don't know, some people are dog people, and hats off to them, that's fine, but not me.
Are they called doggers, Andy? Is that what
no,
they're called?
that's something completely different, Paul, which I'll
I didn't know what it was until recently.
I'll explain to you later.
It involves car parks and cars and the middle of the night and undressing.
So I'm told.
Yeah.
But no, I wouldn't have a dog, and I just think, if you're of that mindset, you're better off not having a dog, because I don't want to take on the responsibility of having a dog. I found children, more than I could take in terms of responsibility. So to be responsible for another being, I just think, well, I'm just not up to it. So,
well, you talk to me now about dogs at a very interesting juncture, because we do have 2 dogs, but one is at the end of his life, and he really was such a charming. He's a terrier, Parsons Terrier, which is like a long-legged Jack Russell. Did you know that it was the Reverend John Russell in Barnstaple that bred what was called Parsons Terriers, because he was the parson, from Fox Terriers? So he bred Fox Terriers, which looked like Parsons Terriers, but the wiry chops.
Yes.
He bred them into a dog that was more suitable for hunting, I think, called a Parsons Terrier. And then from Parsons Terrier, you're glazing over. From Parsons Terrier, he bred a shorter-legged dog, which was called the Jack Russell or John Russell.
Well, why is he called a Jack Russell?
Because
John Russell.
Jack is short for John.
Why would you be calling it a John Russell?
Well, that's North Devon for you. What can I say?
Well, you don't get Jack Deere tractors, do you?
You don't. But anyway, keeping on track with the dogs thing. So he's poorly. He's really poorly. But at what time? how poorly does someone get? Now, there's a current debate about euthanasia,
yes,
isn't there?
with humans.
Going on with humans. It's a similar kind of decision that you are. His life is in my hands, or in my wife's hands. So dogs can be. We've said we won't have any more dogs, even though we love dogs. We won't have any more because they are a tie.
Yeah,
you can't just buzz off for the weekend, especially when you've got two.
Yeah.
So no, I think I could be persuaded, but I'm not really a cat person.
Yeah, but you're really selling this dog thing to me at the moment. I mean, first of all, we've had. I hate going out in the rain with the dog. Then I've got. I'm really worried about having it euthanized, and they're a terrible tie. That's what I've got from you in that quick conversation. So it's no wonder I don't want a dog.
All right,
I'm just saying.
Let me move on. I used the word sanguine earlier, which is a word. I know you like words, don't you?
I do.
Do you know what sanguine means?
Yes, I do.
What does it mean then?
Well, it means sort of philosophical, sort of sanguine. I don't know.
It's difficult to find a synonym, isn't it?
It is very difficult, but I know what it means.
What, a synonym?
No, sanguine.
So I'd like to talk, I think, about the way we speak, because it is a beef of you and I, and we have talked about it in the past. And I think there's a lot more mileage in it, because every day, every week, something new happens. And we were talking about phrases that people don't use, and certainly words that people don't use. And I have to interrogate my daughters, who are one's in their 20s and one's in their late teens, to find out what the latest vernacular is and what's cool and what isn't cool. Yeah. It's sad in some ways, I think, that we're losing the vocabulary. We seem to have a shrunken vocabulary. I don't know if I'm right about that.
I think you're right.
But of course, the argument is that language evolves.
It does, but at the moment, I wouldn't say that our language is evolving at all. I would say it's devolving, because it's not being extended. It's sort of being shrunken by good old Generation X.
Well, we can't lay it at the door of Generation X, can we? Because, in the 60s...
Generation Z.
You were no but a boy. There were things like cool and...
Yes.
That's really... What else did they say in the 60s? I can't remember. I know what they said to me in the 60s. Get up to bed. You're only 5 years old and you're staying up too late. But it's idioms that have disappeared, aren't they? That we were saying that whatever floats your boat, that's something I don't know. If I used that to some of my contemporaries, they would perhaps understand it. I hope they would understand it. But if I used it to anyone young, they go, what do you mean, float your boat?
Yeah.
What is that? I often say, I don't want to rain on your parade, which is something I picked up in America.
Yeah.
Because they have parades and you don't want it to rain on it. And it's just saying you don't want to spoil things because you're on a bit of a roll with it.
Yeah.
Being on a bit of a roll with it, that must have come in quite late on, mustn't it?
I would imagine it has, and this has been a bit of a focus for me, because we've had at the end of last year we had a family of Ukrainians living with us, and it was a mum and two children. The children were 12 and 20, so the kind of older children. But the mum spoke a bit of English, but not a lot. But I'd find myself using idioms, and her looking at me as with a blank expression. So I'd say something like whatever floats your boat, or things like I'm just popping out, and she'd look at me as if, what the hell are you talking about?
Yes.
What is popping? What is popping? She'd say to me. I said, oh sorry, I'm just going out.
Yeah.
And she'd okay. And then I realised that I was using a very sort of idiom-filled language when talking to people from another country. I'm thinking, what chance am I giving these people to learn English?
Well, that's good, because they'd start to use it and feel familiar with it, and people would understand them and accept them. So that's okay, isn't it? That's evolution.
Yeah, that is evolution. And it just made me think that teaching English as a foreign language must be pretty difficult, because it is a strange language. In its rules, and we'll get onto grammar and all that sort of stuff, but it doesn't really seem to make sense. I mean, I learnt French at school, and I learnt Latin, and I learnt all the grammar. I learnt English at school. Didn't learn a lot of grammar when I was, studying English. You kind of pick it up, and I know more about French grammar than I do about English grammar.
That's interesting. Mon Dieu. I think that a lot of it is down to nurture.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting round a table at home having a meal. It was a big thing. We always sat around and had dinner together or lunch together on a Sunday. And my dad would drop in a word like obfuscate. I don't know where that came from, but it just popped into my head. It popped into my head, not popped out.
No.
Obfuscate, and I'd say, "What does that mean? What does that mean?" He'd go, "Look it up." And he'd point to the big Oxford English Dictionary and the thing, and I'd scuttle away and look it up, and then we'd have a discussion about it. And I can't remember much, like where my car keys are, my birthday, my middle name, but I can remember quite a lot of words. So words are obviously stored in a very important part of my brain somewhere.
Yes, probably. That's right. But words are interesting, and so you used to have basically a round of call my bluff at mealtime. With your old man.
He didn't give me dodgy answers. He just said go and look it up and gave me a thirst to find out. And therefore, I find I'm often using. Sometimes I feel I don't want to be pompous with my use of language because I want whoever I'm talking to understand.
Yeah.
So there's no point using words that people simply don't understand. They'll just look blank at you. And I think there's a dulling. I'm not sure that the language has devolved or whatever you said, the reverse of evolved. But I do think that communication has. I think that has decayed. And it's ironic that we've got mobile phones, smartphones, we've got computers, we've got all manner of communicating via various different channels, WhatsApps, text, goodness knows what else. But I don't think the way in which we communicate is any stronger. It might even be weaker.
Well, it's a bit like a TV argument. I mean, back when we were growing up, we had 3 TV channels, and now
we were lucky.
Now we've got hundreds, and but the television isn't better. So it's a case of quantity over quality, and I think you're right. Communication's a bit like that. There are hundreds of ways for us to communicate more than ever before, but the quality of that communication is pretty dire. But I don't know.
It's like food, isn't it? That there are a great many cuisines or types of food available throughout the UK now, but actually it's no better. You know, a burger and a pizza and a curry. It's just more of it.
Yes.
It's not necessarily better. I think you're right. And the other thing I was thinking of is that it's not just the words we use. It's the absence of courtesy, and that. We could probably do a whole podcast on courtesy.
Yeah.
But the fact that you go to a bar and you'll hear someone say, "Can I get a beer? Can I get a this?" And it just jars with me because you can't get it. No, I will get it for you because I am the bartender.
Yes.
The bar lady, person, whatever. You can't get it. I would like a beer. May I have? If I ask some of the young people that hang around our house. They're usually friends, by the way. They're not a mob,
right?
Although they could be one day. If I say to them, "How are you doing?" They'll go, "Good."
Yeah.
They won't say, "Good, thank you," or even better, "Good, thanks, Paul. How are you?" There's not that intercourse.
Well, I don't even like the word "good." How are you doing? I'm good. No, that's not an answer to the question. I'm very well, thank you.
Why can't they say good then?
I am well, because good is a prerogative. It's just an old word to use. That, I mean, I'm good. Well, what do you mean by that? Do you mean you're well behaved? Do you mean everything's good in your life?
Yeah, that's what they mean.
All right. Well, I don't know, because it's an unqualified term. But if you say I'm very well, that means I'm okay. I'm healthy. I'm okay.
Isn't that the understated Brit in you that's coming out?
No, because I think the "I'm good" is very American.
Yeah,
and it is, and it's just what Americans say. Yeah, I'm good.
They don't say "Can I get a beer?" They say "Give me a beer."
Give me a beer,
They don't all say
and they don't say please.
That's why they love our manners. When you open a door for them and they go, oh gosh, it's so wonderful.
And the thing they love about us is the thing we're throwing away.
Well, we're not throwing it away, are we? It's just dissolving.
That's what I mean.
It's
we are throwing it
dissipating
away gradually.
And it is sad because I think good manners. I was always told that good manners cost nothing, and it goes a long, long way.
Of course, it does.
To being accepted, liked. Isn't it civilised? Have we lost our civilization a bit?
Well, it's just the glue that makes everything happen, isn't it? You know, if you say please to somebody, you're more likely that they are going to do what you're asking them to do straight away. So if you say, please, could you do this for me? Somebody's more likely to do it than if you say, oh, can you do that without saying please? It's just the, I don't know, it's the lubrication, if you want to use that word, of civilization.
It always makes me slightly nervous, actually, using that word, to be honest with you, but I'll let you off of this. Do you know, I've got to get this off my chest, because I was just thinking, why it is a generational thing, and because we're in our early 60s, it is coming to the fore more and more. And it wasn't a problem when I was 43. It just wasn't. But we were driving up near to our house the other day, and it's school turning out time. There's a primary school nearby, and people just abandoned their cars. When I say people, I'm talking about young mums and some dads, a few grandparents, but they just abandon their cars on yellow lines, and they don't think about the fact a fire engine might need to get past, or even me. So I drive up, and there's somebody in, I have to admit, a great big Chelsea tractor, a Range Rover, Vogue or whatever, and she looks at me, and I do the kind of, I don't know what to do hand signal, like that. She doesn't wind down her window, how quaint, Paul. The window goes down, and she goes, figure it out. That's what she said to me, figure it out. There was a space I could go in, but I then have to have reversed out of. Didn't make any effort to say, oh, sorry, or, you know, can you go in there? Figure it out. It's like,
Were you tempted to slash her tyres and then say to her, well, you figure that out?
Well, all I could think of as a riposte, as I manoeuvred to allow her access, which she didn't need or deserve, well, she needed it, of course, but she didn't deserve it, was to say, you figure it out. And that was just like a very poor riposte, I felt. I wanted to... You figure it out. Sweetheart. So I'm not into revenge, but I do think it's nice to. But I think we may have mentioned it before. When you're walking the dogs or whatever, and another human being is coming the other way. I just think it's a nice thing to do to go, hello. Good morning, hello. And if you're really daring, you say, lovely to see the sunshine at last. Sometimes you end up stopping, having a conversation. Sometimes you find out that person knows someone that you know, or is in dire straits, or needs a hand, or whatever.
Absolutely.
But just most of the time, it's acknowledging that you are in the same space, the same planet as me. And I don't know why that's gone. Where's that gone?
I don't know. I think it's fear. People frightened to meet somebody's gaze that they don't know, and I don't know. That's just an odd thing. Maybe it's because you wouldn't do that in London, would you? Walking down Oxford Street, you wouldn't go hello, good morning. You
wouldn't. So maybe, and I'm just floating this as a possibility. I haven't decided.
Okay.
Maybe it's regional, because if you're listening to this podcast in Manchester, Liverpool, or Scotland, you might be saying, or Birmingham. That's not how we speak up. We're always very friendly to people whenever we meet. And having lived there for a long time, they are. And having worked in Manchester, they are. And having worked in Liverpool, the people are, it seems, much more friendly.
Same as in Yorkshire. And I had to get used to the fact. Well, I didn't have to get used to it. I grew up with it. But when I've been in Yorkshire with people that aren't from Yorkshire, and where, blokes call you love in Yorkshire, you're right, love, and they'll say that to a bloke, it just seems a bit weird, but I grew up with it, so I think it's perfectly normal, but other people might be a bit taken aback by it. But
it's not going to harm anyone, is it?
No.
And I don't think it's rude.
No,
but to blank you, I find...
it's almost like you don't exist.
Is it a need in me to want to be acknowledged or affirmed or something?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
you're very insecure.
Right. I think we all need all that, don't we?
Well, no, I think it's a part of that, and I think it's just a nice way of saying to somebody, hello, we're both walking along the same bit of pavement, we're both doing completely different things, but I'm just acknowledging that we both are actually here and existing.
You're listening to Paul and Andy's podcast, Grey Matters, and we've been discussing how people are rude to each other by not acknowledging that they exist, and manners and things generally. So I think we've probably got more to say on this, haven't we, about manners and things like that. I don't know, have we exhausted it?
Well, the thing about manners is it's a very in-person thing. And what you alluded to earlier is that there are more forms of communication around, especially for our younger people, which means that they don't have to interact with each other very much personally, i.e. in person. Yeah. Therefore, you don't really need manners on social media, do you? No. Or a messenger or whatever. No.
And emails as well. That's brought a whole different grammar of communication, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Because people will go, hi.
Yeah.
You'd know, I was brought up, dear sir, dear madam,
yes.
dear Peter, or whatever.
Yeah.
But now it's hi, and there's an abbreviated form of communicating in an email, or
yes.
and certainly a text,
yes.
and
yes.
using emojis. Do you use
hi.
emojis? Can I ask you? Do you use
fired.
emojis?
Sorry.
Do you know what an emoji is?
Yes, I do.
Do you use them?
No, I don't, because I think I like using words. Why should pictures replace words? I can spell, I can read, I can use them. Why don't I celebrate that? Why would I use a picture when a word will do?
I celebrate words, but I think if it amplifies how I'm feeling or wanting to communicate...
Just say it louder.
What, in block capitals?
Yeah.
No.
And lots of exclamation.
Underlined and bold, if you can.
Yes.
No, I think it's... if you're trying to get a nuance
yes.
into what you said, then a winking emoji or one eye up and one eye down, tongue out, thinking you're kind of all over the place. They speak 1,000 words, well, not 1,000 words, but they certainly speak a dozen. I think it amplifies it. And I'm a great one for saying that they should be... If I got a letter from the water company, I think it would be better. I am taking myself seriously. If I got a letter from a water company, I think I'd quite like emojis in there.
No.
Dear Mr. Leather,
no.
I'm very sorry to say that your bill would be going up by 18%. You know, head in hands emoji.
No, because it's unprofessional. I would imagine, and I'm putting words into your mouth here, that you probably like to see pictures of the police dancing with pride celebrators on our street. No, it's got to stop. And letters from your water company should be professional. That's it. And they should be objective, not subjective. So, and don't emojis have these hidden meanings as well? Like some mean something to the younger generation. So you've got to be careful which emojis you use.
How would I know? How do I find these things out?
Ask your young people that hang around your house. Because I don't have any young people here. And my daughter lives in Brighton. I could always ring her up, I suppose, or send her an emoji to see if she's shocked. But it's like these abbreviations, like LOL, and the amount of older people that thought that meant lots of love. Mm. So this girl apparently got this message from her mother saying, "Your dad's dead." LOL.
What does that mean then?
It means laughing out loud. And all these old people thought it meant lots of love. Yeah. And so she sent her this very inappropriate text message.
It means two things.
Yeah, I know, but which does it mean?
Well, you obviously not say laughing out loud when you're telling somebody's dad's dead, are you?
Yes, I know, but her mother thought it meant one thing, and her daughter thought it meant the other thing. Well, so it's a breakdown in communication.
It's a miscommunication.
It's a breakdown in communication in my book.
In a miscommunication, it's a bit like when I put a laughing out loud emoji on somebody's... they were doing a sponsored walk for cancer research. Yeah. And I put a laughing out loud emoji. She said, "Why did you put that?" And I went, "Put what?" She's put a laughing out, tearful laughing emoji. I said, "I didn't, did I? It's just I thought I'd put an emoji with a thumbs up or something." And I hadn't seen it because I didn't have my glasses on.
Oh, you see, that's another reason not to send emojis, because you and I are going sort of partially sighted.
Do Larry.
So why complicate a message with visuals when words will do? So instead of sending a laughing emoji, whatever you called it, I just I thought that was very funny.
Should there be a cut-off age at which you stop using emojis and other vernacular that we shouldn't be using?
About 20, I think.
Can you say? Are we still allowed to say cool?
Yes, because it is cool.
Because, but when the first time around in the 60s, I was too young to use the word
Yes, so
cool.
was I.
And then there was a period of time where cool wasn't cool.
And it was more ace.
And then ace.
Ace
That's
was
it,
good.
I forgot that.
And then
That's really
skill.
ace. You know what it is at the moment, don't you?
Well, it's sick, isn't it?
No.
No.
It was sick.
Yes.
Sick's gone out.
Oh, was it?
They've cleared the sick up.
Is it blah or something?
It's 100%.
Oh, yeah, I hate
agree
that.
with that 100%. No, 100%. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, but that's...
Well, I don't even agree with most people. 32%.
Exactly, it's lying.
Yes, it's deceiving.
It's deceiving people. And like I always say, always give 100% unless you're donating blood.